what else could we say for the intro of that movie? What else did you need for the intro of that movie? That noise, you know what's coming. You know that noise and you know that feeling. And I swear, the minute that noise kicked off at the start of this film, I just had goosebumps from head to toe. Top Gun Maverick is finally here after, what, 2-year delay? I think it was a 2-year delay.
Yeah, I think so, something like that,
Yeah, 2-year delay. And everyone was looking forward to it. No one really kind of took it on board that it was going to be what we were about to review it as, which is just bloody brilliant. But nobody really, everyone was kind of like, really? Really? You want to go back to one of the most classic films of cinema? 36 years later, it's hit. It's Top Gun Maverick. Tom Cruise is back, and half of the bloody cast were back. But anyway, hi Nathan, how you doing?
I'm fantastic, mate.
Yeah, you seen it a wee bit earlier than me, didn't you?
I just like maybe an hour or two earlier than you, yeah.
Yeah, so we're watching it. Oh my god, I don't even know where to start with this. I have never in my life sat with so much tension in my body, wanting to whoop in my seat. All I wanted to just like, every time a plane took off, I was like, Whoa! Every time something happened, I was like, Whoa! And everyone was so quiet in the cinema, and I felt like some sort of absolute psychopath as I was doing
when I was at cinema down here in London, there was people like cheering and clapping and bits and stuff like that all the way through it.
Oh my god, you have no idea how much I would have enjoyed that. I was ready to get up and just dance and stuff at certain parts of this movie. And not only that, it was funny. There was so many wisecracking, really good jokes. Like the writer of this, and obviously, I think it was Christopher McQuarrie. I think is one of the main writers. I think it was his original script. It was absolutely hilarious in the right moments. And I'm going to talk about one little scene which I think is the sign of some of the best writing. I'm going to bring it up later on. Some of the best writing when you're writing comedy, and it was one scene that come up to do with it being funny. But not so. You've got a legacy sequel. That's what they're calling it now. So it's when you go back to the old school stuff, and it's never really landed very well. The only time that I know of out of recent memory where it's landed faultlessly was Scream. Scream seems to have landed. I know you didn't like it. I know you weren't a fan anyway. But it's one of those legacy sequels that sit and hit its landing mark. But to hit its landing mark on a scale that this has, because it's blowing everybody out of the water. I don't know a single person that said that they haven't liked it.
I don't see how you couldn't like it. It's just it harks back to those like days in like this, late 70s and into the 80s when you had these sort of summer blockbusters, which weren't anything deep or meaningful, just a fun movie. Really, pure escapism. The biggest compliment I can give the director is you'd think it was Tony Scott who directed this. The way it's made, the way it's the atmosphere, even the music through it. There's so many nods to the original movie as well. I honest with you, I watched Top Gun on Friday night as I was sort of getting ready to go to this today.
Yeah, I
think this movie's better than the original one. I think it's a better story. It's better balanced. It's probably some better performances. I mean, the looks, and I love the way that the opening title sequence is exactly the same with the aircraft carrier, and then the story with the Top Gun thing, and then even the end credits are exactly the same as well. I think that's such a cool nod to things. And so often with these sort of legacy sequels or sequels, generally they try and change the formula, and they haven't done here. They just stuck with what was great about the first one and made a superb second movie.
Yeah, I didn't want to actually say that straight away, but I have to say I think the second was actually better than the first. And I don't know if it's just because obviously it's 36 years ago, so it's a ridiculously long
but I don't think there's an awful lot of green screen going on in this movie. No. I think it looked like proper stunts. So they've made it the same way. It could easily have gone down the CGI green screen route with this, and they haven't, which I think adds to the authenticity of it and that feel of the dog fights and the action sequences with the planes.
Yeah,
it blew me away in the cinema. I mean, it's one of these. I think the only other film in the last few years that I've seen where I thought I'm so glad I've seen this in the cinema was probably Mad Max.
Yeah,
Fury Road and maybe Gravity. They're the ones I thought, you know what, I'm so glad I've come to see this, and this is definitely one of them. If anyone, don't wait for this. Don't wait for this to come on streaming services or anything like that. Go to the cinema and watch this because it's absolutely phenomenal.
If you're watching this review, you're only going to see it. Still, it's not even having completed a full week run. So
open Thursday, isn't it? The Thursday open. Thursday open, was
Thursday,
it?
so
Friday.
this review will be up, and it's not had a full week in the cinema. So if you are seeing this and you've not watched it, there's not a lot that you can spoil in this film in general, because it's hard to spoil. It's just a really
You
good
know what's
story.
going to happen. You know what's going to happen.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly. But there was one point where I was like, don't. Don't.
A couple of times. No, I was. We always do spoilers anyway, so never mind. The bit when Rooster, you think he's done. I was on my I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh my God, it's happening to him as well. And then the ejector seat wasn't working. I thought, oh my God, it's happening to him again. I think it was his dad.
I was
just like.
That's what I was like. Don't. That's one of the moments where I was like, "Don't do this again. You can't do this. You can't do this to. You can't do it to Maverick again. He's such a troubled guy already."
Yeah.
And
I think I mean, obviously, this is not the most taxing acting that Tom Cruise has ever had to do. Compared to others, but he manages. I mean, it's 36 years since he played Maverick before, and he plays him exactly. He manages to play him exactly the same way. Even the way he delivers lines, the way he smiles, everything. I mean, I think it's like really cool things like, they give him the same haircut. I think I don't know, things like that I really like. Because that sort of guy, this is what I do. This is who I am, and I'm not changing for anybody. And they've kept that up all the way. Even the way he talks to the admirals and stuff like that is exactly the same as it was in the first movie 36 years ago when he's a 22, 23-year-old guy. That was one of the biggest things I took from it. It's just his performance in it is phenomenal.
Yeah, I honestly cannot agree more, because there was I think there was one point where it's right at the start of the film where it's Ed Harris and he says we don't need the future doesn't have pilots like you anymore, and he just about to leave the room. He turns around and he says, "Well, not today."
Yeah.
It was just straight out the old movie. It was just.
The only thing I was disappointed, obviously there was a few lines that were dropped in that were the same as lines from the first movie, but they didn't use a hit the brakes, they fly right by, and I was gutted they didn't use that one, man. Because at one point I thought he's going to do it now and he's going to say it, and he didn't do it. I was gutted, man.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of other proper tearjerk moments where it got me every time. Is it help me out, Goose, or show me the way, Goose? He said.
Yeah, talk to me, Goose.
Talk to me, Goose. That was that.
And then Rooster goes, "Talk to me, Dad." Same thing.
It was right after after Maverick said it. Because Maverick just went, he's like, "Talk to me, Goose," and then it cuts, and you just got his eyes like, it's like, "Talk to me, Dad," and you were like,
I'd say this is probably the best performance I've seen from Miles Teller for a while as well.
Yeah, right. Do you know what? I'll be very, very honest. I'm not a huge fan of Miles Teller. I never have been. The only time was Whiplash was was a phenomenal performance.
That one, the drum War Dogs with Jonah Hill and.
Oh yeah, right, okay.
He's good in that as well.
Yeah, it's decent.
You don't like him because of Fantastic Four. That's why you don't like him, isn't it?
No, I don't know. I can't blame the actors, because you know what, Miles Teller actually was okay in that. I would even go as far as say it was just a poorly edited movie, and I'm not even going to trash Josh Trank, because Josh Trank was making from the first. We're talking about a different movie now. From the first half an hour, that movie was epic. It was one of the greatest builds of a superhero movie I've ever seen, and then you can see where the editing and the reshoots and all that happened, and they changed everything. Absolutely gash. But Miles was very good in that as well. But he's not so bad. But just a lot of the stuff I've seen him in, I've not been sold by him. But he owned it. He really owned.
And he got hench for it, didn't he? He was like a big old boy. Like, I like the way that they made him look like Goose. Maybe that's partly why. Maybe that's why he's been cast in it, because he does look a little bit like Anthony Edwards, from back in that era, wearing the same shirt, same sunglasses, everything. I really like that sort of touch to it. I mean, I've got to admit, until they announced that she's dead, I was expecting Meg Ryan to pop up somewhere.
Oh yeah, she obviously she makes a slight cameo in this by flashback, and then by putting her in it and even giving her the lines, I assumed, are we going to see it again? But she must have said no.
And then what's her name? Kelly thingy. I sort of thought that maybe originally, because I know allegedly this has been in development for years and years, and it was originally Tony Scott was going to be directing, obviously before he passed away. I think that the Jennifer Connelly character, I think, was probably you can imagine that being Kelly McGinnis from the first. I'm saying the name wrong. What is her name? McGillis. McGillis, yeah. You can imagine that possibly being her coming back into it in this, because it's not really it's just like, oh, you're Penny and that's your daughter, okay, and they don't really explain part of that, you sort of expected to know who she is, which suggests to me maybe they just made a little bit of a tweak around and decided to recast that sort of, and rejig it a little bit. I was really surprised. Yeah, I was expecting. Yeah. No, she was fantastic. I loved her anyway in most things that she's in since. Even going back to like Labyrinth, sorry, and A Requiem for a Dream. She's phenomenal in back in the day, and married to Vision, isn't she?
Yeah, Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany's wife. Paul Bettany's husband. Yeah, that's her husband.
Yeah.
I thought she was excellent in it. And then again, so this leads me into the kind of one of the jokes what happened in it. And again, spoiler alert if you don't want. It's not really a big spoiler. Obviously, just after sleeping together, that he's crept in. The daughter arrives and he jumps out the window. But this, for me, is one of the best ways of writing. It's honestly some of the best writers do this, and it's how to actually almost. So this, for me, is the sign of some of the best writing you could ever possibly see. When you've got such an impactful joke that it's hilarious, but when you're good enough to write just after it, something that brings it back down to earth. And the joke there was he obviously jumps down. If you're not going to watch it, I don't care about spoilers. Please listen to me. If not, skip a minute. But he jumps out, and obviously sneaking out the house after sleeping with her, and his daughter's downstairs, but he lands right in front of the window, and obviously his daughter's there, and it's this comedy bit where everyone in the cinema was howling, absolutely howling. But the first line out of the daughter's mouth is, she's straight-faced, poker-faced, and just says, "Just don't break her heart again." And it just went from this high, like such high of laughing away to just being, oh yeah, shit. Because the ties between them across the whole film was so tight, and you hope something was going to happen. You got a history of everything that happened, but just to get that line is impeccable writing. So if that's Christopher McQuarrie or whoever done that line, that's incredible writing.
Yeah, a real sort of juxtaposition of like two completely different emotions in a very short space of time. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, for me, that's just incredibly talented writing.
Yeah. The only sort of, I think the only performance I didn't really like was John Hamm's.
Do you know what I like? John Hamm. John Hamm, I think was.
I like him.
People might say. They might say dialed it in for this, but I would say it didn't, because at the end of the day, he's supposed to just be a hard ass guy who doesn't take any shit. You know what I mean? And that's what it was.
I was really surprised that Ed Harris didn't appear again later on in the movie as well.
I kind of hoped he did. Yeah, I hoped he was going to kind of pop up again. I thought that would be a nice.
Almost like in the original one, I always forget the actor's name, but he's like the commander on the ship. In the first one at the start and the end, I thought maybe they were going to do a wee bit of symmetry like that again.
I think he might be dead though. He was a bit older, wasn't he?
Yeah, that guy was. Yeah. And the whole way through, I was waiting for them to buzz the tower, and he obviously did it right at the end.
Because
I think the thing about it is Top Gun is such an iconic movie, right? And so sort of, and I think just you're waiting for these because they were putting so many little like Easter eggs to the original movie in through the whole thing that you were sort of thinking, right, when are they going to do this one? When are they going to do that one? And I'm still waiting for Take My Breath Away to come on at some point.
No.
They had Danger Zone. They had the other stuff. They had him, him racing the jet and his motorbike and all this, the jacket and everything else, and Great Balls of Fire and all that. So we're just waiting for that. And even the beach sports scene. It's just a really homage to the first movie, and then build on those characters. Yeah. I mean, obviously, at the time Tom Skerritt's passed away now, hasn't he? From the original one, yeah. I mean, it's because he's probably my favourite character in the first movie, to be honest. So it would have been. I mean, I think obviously if this had been maybe made originally back in the day, maybe it would have been a Val Kilmer. He was only in it for short because he was ill as well, wasn't he? And that's why he was only in it for a very short.
No, he's not. He's incredible. Val Kilmer's incredibly unwell with throat cancer that he's got, which is why he couldn't speak and stuff. Which I thought was again a skill of the writing. Just write it in, because he's at the age where things like this could happen. And
really powerful.
Wrote it in. But to kill him off, I think was just it was poignant.
Oh my god, man! How made the feels that bit, man?
Losing Iceman, it was just like. But I was genuinely, I think I was crying about 3 times by then. Anyway,
I was watching it thinking, why are they doing this weird sort of? I mean, there's 55, 60-year-old men, and they're texting each other. So what on earth are they texting each other for? And it makes sense when it actually comes down to it, But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I thought, I mean, the action scenes with the airplanes were phenomenal, man.
Oh my god!
The bit when he does the run himself first time to do it in 2 minutes 15, I could almost feel the G's watching that.
The editing of this movie is just incredible as well. And I get, like, back in the 80s when this was out, the first one was out originally, you've got the editing style has changed, to put it that way. Everything's a lot more sharper now, but the way that it was done this time was so sharp, so quick. Everything was done. It was like there's a lot of juxtaposition in this. Whoever did the editing, and it was like it went from some really crazy, intense mental scenes to being just snap bang. It was just a Tom Cruise face just sitting kind of quiet, staring at something. It was just so well done. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's genuinely hard for me to find something I didn't like about this film.
Yeah, no, I would agree, man. I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said to you, it's the most fun I've had in the cinema for such a long time. I think it's really. I think not every film has to have some sort of message or some sort of to be for a cause or something like that. What's wrong with just going to the cinema for some fun?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be. There's, like you said, there's some comedy in this, but there's some serious bits as well, and the actions. I mean, like I said, for Fast and Furious, you go and watch this and see how to do action without making it ridiculous. Car chases in space and nonsense like this. You don't need all that. Just have a good story and have some really cool stunts.
Yeah. I mean, going on to the fact that, talking about stunts, you've got Tom Cruise filmed so much of it.
He always does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got a proper pilot.
F-18? What?
Yeah, but I don't think, from what I read, he wasn't doing the flips and stuff like that. But he was doing he could fly in a straight line or whatever. Yeah. The bit at the start though, with the Mach 10 bit, and then he walks into that cafe, man. I was honestly, where am I? And the little boy goes, Earth.
So funny.
Come on, man. It's the only time in any movie you ever see Tom Cruise look a wee bit old, because his hair is all like this and he's like that.
That's the thing. It's like the comedy was done just so perfectly. It's like it wasn't even necessary to a certain degree, but it was just.
Was that guy says, stick that in your Pentagon budget, wasn't it? He hit 10.
It's just Ed Harris turned around and looked at him like.
I love Ed Harris. Man, that's probably why I wanted him in it more. I mean, Westworld new season starts quite soon, and obviously he's going to be. It looks like he's going to be a massive part of that. Yeah, which I'm a massive fan of. That. I mean, even going back to like things like History of Violence, he's amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen that film Kodak.
No.
With him and I always get Ed Helms and Jason Sudeikis mixed up, but it's one of those two. In it with him.
That was one of the things about Ed Harris was one of the opening scene, where obviously they did the Mach 10 thing, and then he gets to the gates and stands out next to the outpost, and the plane flies over him. Do you notice everything moved?
Apart from him.
The car, the outpost, the signs, the other guy, everything fell. Ed Harris didn't move. I thought that was like, it was like just stood there perfectly still. You just knew the power that he's had in this film.
That was cool. Again, the hat, like the roof moves up and down.
Ed Harris, his figure just stands there, absolutely perfect.
And even that, I mean, I really liked the way they shot that when they was going so fast in that plane, and you could see the air going around the plane outside was really cool, I thought.
It was. I mean, obviously there would have been some CGI in general, but like it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous how good some of the shots were. One of the shots in the Mach 10 thing where they're racing around the globe, or he's also racing around the globe, and you just got a kind of shot from way up, probably space-ish.
In the big turn,
the curve round a big massive mountain range. You don't need that, but you got it.
I watched that, and I was remember there was a big thing during COVID, and they said that Tom Cruise is shooting the first ever film from space, and I wondered if that's where they shot that shot from.
Possibly.
Remember there's a big news story about it, and they didn't really announce what it was going to be, whether it was going to be Mission Impossible or whatever. Maybe they're doing that. Maybe they got that shot from there, because it didn't look like a CGI shot.
No, it looked really good. I'll run it if I can find it. I have to. I want to legally download the movie. I'll borrow it. I'll run the clip if I can. I am honestly stumped at anything negative that I could say about this film. I mean, it had action, it had comedy, it had romance, it had everything. The homoeroticism of the original with the beach ball stuff. Everything was there. Everything.
You know the bit that you know what I think, right? You know how we talk quite a lot about this idea when you get a film can elicit a physical response from you,
Yeah.
right? And I remember one of the first times it ever happened to me was I remember when I went to see Phantom Menace the first time in the cinema, being a massive Star Wars fan, and I sat down and a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away came up on the screen, and I just started like smiling and giggling and got a shiver go through me. And see this start of this movie when Danger Zone came on, same thing happened to me. Same thing happened to me.
I had goosebumps like at the start, like all the scenes coming up in the exact same text, and it was almost, it probably could have been shot for shot, but everything that came up, I had goosebumps. I was sitting like this, holding on the end, just waiting for stuff to take off. I was so excited. This whole movie, physical response, my body was giving responses that I can't even control.
Yeah, there were quite a few gasps. There's one bit. There was a few oh shits from me as well in the cinema. Especially the big long sort of dogfight scene at the end. I think that's one of the best action scenes I've seen in anything. I mean, it's not. I love that. It's not a typical. It's not a chase scene as such, but that's the way it felt.
Yeah.
Like a car chase scene with the airplanes.
Yeah, see that maneuver, the fifth generation evil fighter pilot, when he braked flat that way, but it then twisted round.
Yeah,
so like, oh, that's so cool.
The only F-bomb dropped in the whole movie as well, wasn't it? At that bit. And I loved that. And I loved the way that when they're in that the old jet at the end flying, and obviously a Rooster goes and takes the Goose's seat, and he just acts the relationship when they're talking at that point is so much like Maverick and Goose in the first movie.
I genuinely think Miles Teller must have studied a lot of for this.
Probably, I don't know if Anthony, might probably give him a call.
Yeah, probably, like, because of the way he spoke, his mannerisms. Because at one point they were arguing outside on the ship, outside the plane. They were kind of talking to each other, and the way they spoke to each other was like the original film. Exactly the same, but it was the mannerisms were all exactly there.
I even like the cheesy bit at the end where Hangman comes and he's finally in the team now and stuff like that. I even like that, man.
I've never noticed that guy, but he was actually, even though he was kind of he was the jock of this film.
He was the Iceman of this film, wasn't he?
Yeah,
but bizarrely, he was Iceman, but he was the Maverick pilot, like Maverick was in the first one, and Rooster was more like the Iceman pilot, and they sort of flipped the roles around. But the dynamic was the same. But
that guy, I thought he was great. I genuinely thought.
I can't think what I've seen him in. I know I've seen him in something else, but I cannot for the life of me remember what it was.
I can't remember his name. I'll fling it up here.
I was looking earlier, but I couldn't remember. I can't remember now.
It was so smarmy that I loved him.
No, definitely.
So cheesy and smarmy that I just thought he was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I don't honestly.
10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 movie for me.
10 out of 10 for me as well. It's possibly one of the best action films I've seen in my life. Genuinely.
100%. I think as well, especially the director. I mean, obviously, like you said, I think Tom Cruise picked this guy to direct it. And I like the way they've just sort of gone. The first film, it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Just try and keep the style the same. Even the music was the same, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, the Lady Gaga tune at the end is a great tune as well. It's a banging tune.
Just an absolute homage to the originals as well.
Yeah. And even like the shots were done the same. I love the sort of him in silhouette type shots going like the planes. It's like, oh man, I was looking forward to it. I'd read a few reviews and everyone was so glowing about it. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I'll be honest with you. I'll probably try and go and see it again, I think.
I want to see it. I made a mistake. I actually made a mistake, and I'll say this about it, and it's not very honest. I'm honest about making my mistakes. But I went all the way to Braehead, which is nearby where I live, to see it in IMAX. And then I got to Braehead Shopping Centre, which is right next to it, and I realised it was £17 a ticket for IMAX. And I was like, nah, I'm not paying £17 a ticket when I can go to the View for like £7.
Yeah.
Biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. I am paying £17 to go and see that film in IMAX, and I'll tell you that right now.
One thing I really noticed as well, because I went to see it, it was quite a big cinema, and it was quite a big screen. But I noticed when the film was coming on, they made the screen as big as they possibly could. Mm-hmm. So it must have been shot on like really wide. Not film nowadays, is it? But
screen or something, isn't it?
Whatever, the one I mean. They must have been shot on that, which was cool. And you know what? Do you know what I really liked about this as well? Because in the first one, they did it sort of did in the first one as well. It's this sort of nameless bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were just like, you know, like these other pilots and stuff like that. But I just loved it. And see the bit when that helicopter blew up, man.
Oh my God, no.
That's one of the best explosions I've ever seen in any movie.
It was the slow turn. It's just it goes around one side, then turns around and just slows turn. You just hear the guns going,
and then you just see it disintegrating. It was honestly one of the best explosions I've ever seen in any movie.
Yeah. Oh, we can't praise this film enough. We honestly can't praise this film enough. I just think go and see it in IMAX. Definitely, I can't recommend that anymore. Or if you want, come sit next to me when I see it again. You'll feel like you're at 4DX because I'm just going to be doing that. I'll go in there and spitting and shouting and making lots of noise.
A good shout. Actually, I might go and try and see it in 4DX. You know
oh my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine? But yeah, I'm going to see this. So there you go. 10 out of 10 from me and 10 out of 10 from Nathan. I cannot recommend this anymore. And I'm starting the hashtag. I don't care. Hashtag we geekified. It is Cruise is the king of cinema. That's the hashtag.
I mean, I have read there's talk about some sort of like universe type idea with this, and there might be some more movies in the sequence. What that would look like, I don't know, but if they do that and it's as good as this, no
complaints from me.
No complaints from me.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Nathan.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you for coming to watch us at Geekified. Please hit subscribe and hit that like button for us. It's what we need to help the channel grow. When you hit subscribe, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to bug you and harass you. It just means we get a subscriber and we get to be a little bit bigger. But thank you very much, and we can do this all day.
note,